this video, we are going to transform flowy, kind of retro style art into a circle collage. This is a lesson in trusting the process. And for the color palette, I'm using the book Dictionary of Color Combinations. We're using the bottom one there. And I got as close as I could to the colors with the tempera paint sticks. So to begin, I'm taking my first color and making a flowy line that extends from the top of the page to the bottom. I wanted to go a little off center here, but you can start right in the middle, you can start to one side, and then we're just going to work our way from the inside out, going in order with our colors, and just following the flow of that original line. So I really love this process. You make your first initial line, you color it in, and from there, you can just let go of thinking about what you're doing because all of your lines are going to follow the one before it. By the way, about the color palette, you absolutely don't need a color palette book or resource to choose your colors. I often will intuitively choose my colors or even pick them at random and just go with what I've got. Sometimes I will use a color palette book, and what I really like about this and what I find it's helpful for others with is just turning off that self-judgment or any second guessing of yourself. So if you're someone who worries about picking the, quote, right colors, it just helps you turn that off because you're at ease. Hey, a professional recommended this. Like, this color palette has already been approved. So that's just a little note on, kind of turning off that self-judgment part of yourself. And it's totally okay if you do that. That's why I'm telling you about this right now. Okay, back to our line making. So as we're continuing to just follow the shape of the line that came right before the one that we're working on, it's really easy to drop into flow state doing this process. This is just enough for you to hold your attention without effort, and your brain will likely get quiet pretty quickly because it's busy watching, feeling, and moving at the same time. And that's the sweet spot for flow state. You're fully present, you're not overthinking. So that center line has sort of informed how the rest of the page unfolds. And you can play a little bit with, how your lines swoop and their shape. So mine started narrow at the top and then got wider at the bottom. But for the most part, I'm just following one line after the next. Now I made a mistake here, quote mistake, but again, tempera paint sticks dry so quick, I just went over that pink with the orange. So now my colors are in the order they should be. And there she is. It's totally dry. We're bringing in our black Posca paint marker now. This is where trusting the process really starts to kick in. So I'm taking a bit of a risk here, but let's think about that. This is very low stakes, okay? This is a relaxing, meditative art session. And, while I like how this looks without the bold lines, let's experiment and explore. I had it in my head. I really wanted to try outlining a piece like this. And it's also bringing in black, which was part of our original color palette, into the overall work. So ultimately, if I don't like how this works out, I can make another one and skip any steps that didn't work for me the first time. So just remember that as you're working through a piece, you're never ruining something, and keep going. And there, I just made a mistake right there. Again, quote mistake. There's always a way to fix it or lean into it or accept it completely, embrace it, and make it part of the piece. And we're going to do just that. We're leaning into how this is unfolding. We're trusting ourselves. We're trusting the process. And do you see a fried egg? This little upper corner totally looks like a fried egg to me. When you can let go of self-judgment, you might notice something fun. And here we are, I'm fixing the, quote, mistake that I made where my line overlapped onto the light color. I'm gonna do something I wasn't planning on, and let's grab a Sharpie marker. And for the left-hand side, maybe a full half, maybe a third, I'll kind of see how it goes. I wanna do thinner lines. So following that bold outline, I'm going to do the inside of the color with the Sharpie. Now, I know I just talked about this being low stakes. We can try again. If we don't like something, we're here exploring. But I'm going to be honest, when I first put these lines down, my brain went, what are you doing? You just ruined the whole thing. Like, why? Why did you let this intrusive thought take over? You should have just left it alone. So I just want to be honest that these thoughts come up, and the thing is, I knew to keep going, to trust the process. I've been here before. It's worked out in the end. So we're going to keep going with this permanent marker. Now, drawing with paint markers, the acrylic paint pens on tempera paint sticks works really well. Drawing with the Sharpie, the line started to drag and the Sharpie kept running out of ink. So I'm going to stop right here and we're going to cut this paper in half. I want to use my circle punch on as much of the paper as possible, so I'd have to cut it either after the circle punch on the outside or now. It's just easier now. And I was going to cut it landscape mode like this, but I'm actually going to turn it portrait mode. Does that look Dr. Seussy to anyone else out there? I kind of dig it in the portrait mode here. So now we have two small pieces. This is going to make it a lot easier to use the circle punch. And this is a 1-inch circle punch, or maybe it's 1.5. I'll put in the description exactly which one I used here. Now we're laying these out. I always love to see what patterns showed up in the circle pieces as they come out. Here I can get a little half circle, so I can use up more of my paper. And we are going to cut some of these full circles into half circles anyway at the end. Maybe let's speed it up a bit here. It's so satisfying to get these circles out. Okay, so we've done the art meditation, the flowy lines, we've cut our paper. Here we are, I did cut more into half circles like I mentioned. And now that we have all of our pieces ready, we can bring in a fresh piece of paper. I cut this watercolor paper down into a square. We can line up our circles into tidy, neat little rows. This is so satisfying. I am obsessed with taking my circle pieces and lining them up. I can mix and match how the half circles look on top of the full circles. This feels good, and I'm not going to glue this one down. We're actually just going to start over. Let's try it on a piece of black paper. I have a shoebox full of my circles from other art meditations I've done, other circle collages that I did not tape down. And sometimes when I just need a short break, I will get my shoebox, a piece of blank paper, and line up a bunch of random circles, and it's really cathartic and satisfying. So that was our art meditation and transformation. We trusted the process. I loved how this ended up. I was happy with the thin lines and the bold lines, the color palette. Just this one really made my brain happy. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you try it. As always, thank you for joining me.